I always said that Donna's exit was the most emotional. I may have just decided that that's no longer the most emotional exit for a companion. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, I'm a geek. You are watching Kevin the Geek, and welcome back to a Doctor Who review. This is the finale, or mid-season finale, for Series 7. It is, of course, halfway through the series. It's episode 5. And it is the episode The Angels Take Manhattan. Otherwise known as the final episode with Amy and with Rory. I always think that this is a good episode. And that's thinking for how well the exit is done. Because at this point in the revival of Doctor Who, we are at the point of this being the 4th and 5th companions to leave the show. We've had Rose, we've had Martha, we then had Donna, and now Amy and Rory. And I think that Donna's exit is incredibly emotional because of the journey that you saw her character go on. From that very first initial episode where she appeared in the Christmas special, The Runaway Bride, to then that one full season that she had with the Doctor. I'm not going to lie, after the 60th anniversary specials last year, that emotional ending has become tainted somewhat for me personally.
Why does it have to be this?
And in a way, I kind of wish that they hadn't done it. And at the same time, I am glad that they sort of undid it. I think it's more the way that they undid it, I think, is more frustrating for me, more so than the fact that they did it.
Just let it go.
This one, judging by the dialogue in this episode, it stands to reason this will never get undone. Because we see the deaths. Well, technically we see the gravestones with the names on.
She died of old age.
Well, that's all right then.
I am kind of skipping ahead a little bit, so I'm going to try and rein it back. So apologies if anyone has just been given spoilers, but hey, this episode came out 12 years ago, so I'd like to think that if you're watching this video, you might have seen it by now. Now, one thing, of course, that I talk about in these reviews is music. Music is always good. Music can make and break a scene. And I spoke about the music in this episode, very specifically the track Together or Not at All. I did that almost a year ago, and I did that as part of my 60th anniversary special month for Doctor Who last November. And I did it in order to be able to rank what, in my opinion, was the top 10 best tracks written by Murray Gold in the revival era. Rather than me re-speaking about it now, I'm going to enter the section where I spoke about that specific track into this video here now, rather than me repeat it all over again. Boy, oh boy, this is a track, a scene, and a moment that I feel gets overshadowed. Because I think everyone remembers from that final episode featuring Amy and Rory, they remember the scene where Rory gets taken and Amy is doing everything she can to get taken by the angel so she can be back with him forever. And that is a truly heartbreaking scene. It is arguably up there, top two, moments for a companion's exit. It'll come very close to time with Donna Nobles. But it's the scene before it, for me, that takes this number one spot. For the moment where Rory basically decides that he's going to jump off the roof to kill himself to hopefully create a paradox to save his life and to save Amy's life. But he does that with the unknowing risk of whether he will actually survive at all. And Amy makes the supreme decision to jump with him. Because these two characters have gone on such an amazing roller coaster of a journey. And it's easy to think of some of those early missteps along the way. Like, for example, the moment that Amy decided to try and seduce the doctor on the night before her wedding. And Rory has died numerous times. He became the last centurion, the man who waited 2,000 years to be with the woman he loved the most. You had Amy, who got trapped in a sort of parallel pocket universe and became the girl who waited. And Rory had to make the supreme sacrifice to get rid of the original Amy to get back the technically true original Amy. Then, of course, you had the whole issue with them having a child together, that child getting taken from them, losing that child, their child growing up to be a psychotic murderer who they only kind of know in the adult form of River Song. And because of everything that happened with that, Amy became infertile. So she and Rory broke up and were driven apart. They got back together. And they come to this final moment where Amy just says, if you jump, I jump. Because I cannot live without you. And like I said at the start, music can make and break a scene. And just listening to this music, I wasn't watching it with the scenes. I was just listening to the track. It brought me back to tears. It's that powerful. And that is why that one takes my number one spot. So yeah, if first of all, if you never saw that video, again, a little spoiler for you, that track was my number one pick. Out of all of the tracks, which still surprises me to this point. Because I remember doing that video, the preparation I had to go into it, and all of the songs from all of the soundtracks that I had to listen to in order to try and whittle it down. We're talking like 10 years worth of tracks. Some were repeated, some were revamped for later years. That was a mammoth task to put that together. And I'm super proud of that video. It's a shame we're only at, I think at the time of me recording this video, I think I've got about 50 views on that video. Like I said, I think music is so important. But I was convinced going into that the two songs, the one song that featured in the two-part special, The Impossible Planet and the Saint Bit, I was convinced that would be number one. And then I listened to the track. And of course, coming to it today, watching the entirety of the episode again, which is the first time I've watched a whole episode in a very long time, I stand by that decision at this point, that is the best track that Murray Gold has ever written for this show. And I think the scene is handled incredibly well. one thing that I absolutely detested from this episode, I'm going to put it out here straight away. I hated the fact that Stephen Moffat decided to make the Statue of Liberty a bloody weeping angel. I am infuriated that he did that. And part of the reason for that is there was an episode, sort of mini episode, before this season even began, which was a script writing competition for primary schools. They did this whole thing to encourage children to want to write, and so they asked primary schools to basically say, write a little episode of Doctor Who. It was might have been a Blue Peter sort of competition, if I remember correctly, and it was to do with like the Olympics and everything. And the episode that was chosen, which apparently Stephen Moffat was reluctant to do, was it was something to do with like there was a runner for with like the Olympic torch or something, and he was being chased by weeping angels. Something happened. Quick, few minutes later, they saved the day. Blah blah blah. But the reason that Stephen Moffat was apparently very hesitant to choose that one, he thought it was very well written, but the reason he was reluctant to choose it was because of the fact that he believed that it would be improbable that an entire stadium of people at the Olympics would fail to notice a weeping angel.
There was something chasing me. That's why I didn't see your box.
Don't blink.
We're in Manhattan in this episode. And again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but my memory serves me correct that the Statue of Liberty is not on the mainland of Manhattan. It's on an island across the river. So the Statue of Liberty has somehow got to get off her island, get across the river into Manhattan itself, and from what I could tell from this episode, where it seemed to suggest that this Winter Key was located, was somewhere near Central Park, which isn't exactly close to the river. It's, you know, central-ish for Manhattan. And so somehow we're to presume that with all these buildings, with all these apartments, with all these office blocks, with all the people and the tourists, I mean, there'll probably be less tourists at that time, but even within Central Park itself, because we're talking around about the time that we probably would have been similar to the Daleks of Manhattan, and so there probably would have been a lot of still the Depression era. What was it? Hooverville, I think it was. You know, we're just supposed to accept that not a singular person managed to see the Statue of Liberty, managed to get all the way over. Come on! Oh, it's that fact has just bugged me for years. Literally for years. Every time I see that, I'm just like, you absolute moron. Why would you even write something like that? I mean, I guess, you know, from a visual standpoint, to go, oh my God, the Statue of Liberty is a weeping angel. Yeah, on paper that sounds great. Logistically, it makes the worst possible sense in the world. Oh my God. Sorry, rant over on that one. I needed to get that off my chest. The rest of the episode. I love the fact that they go to New York. I like New York as a setting. It gives you something a little bit different. I like the very sort of noir kind of setting that they seem to go for. With like Melody Malone, even when you just look at the cover of the book, it feels like this would be a sort of like a 1920s sort of black and white noir murder mystery kind of thing. I love the aesthetics that they go with that. I love that the costume that they give for River is fantastic. I mean, all the fedora hats and everything, I'm a massive fan of that kind of style. I don't really wear it myself because it definitely don't work with the longer hair. Although River manages to pull it off, doesn't she? The one thing, again, if I'm going to have a really big nitpick, the whole thing with the Chinese vase, from like the Ming Dynasty, I get what they were doing with that, but again, just from a logistical standpoint, the Doctor doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know who is going to be buying these Ming vases. He doesn't know literally anything other than River saying Ming Dynasty. I mean, the Ming Dynasty lasted such a long period of time, and yet somehow the Doctor managed to get the exact vase and get the exact description to put on so that it was absolutely be with this Grail guy, so that River will see it. It then gets translated. The Doctor can lock on and get. There's a lot of variables that can go wrong there. A lot. I'm a fussy for logistics. I really, really am. But just the episode as a whole, the Weeping Angels, I like that they added new variants. Like especially the little baby ones.
Come on.
They were creepy as hell. They were absolutely great as an addition. Because that's the problem with the Weeping Angels. Once you know what they are and what they can do, it's very difficult to keep it being suspenseful. This is now the third episode, or third story rather, that we've had the Weeping Angels. And each time they have got progressively stronger, in my personal opinion, the way that you make it a little bit different with them. I would still say that probably the best one is still the first one, because of how new and fresh and exciting it was for a new viewer, but I do think they keep trying to up the stakes. Unfortunately, this is the point where it does kind of go downhill a little bit, and it does go... Yeah, they do start to lose their effectiveness. But in this one, in the manner that they were used, with the threat, and I think that comes down to the literacy part of it. Having this book that you can't read ahead because it's going to foretell the future, and once you read on it, it's basically set in stone. They were very clever in this episode with how they did it all to make it feel that it was always suspenseful. You didn't know what was going to happen. River's got her hand caught by the Weeping Angel. She's going to break her wrist. Oh, she's got out of it. Oh, that's really good. Oh, crap, no, she actually did break her wrist to get out of it. That means we've seen... Because obviously as an audience, we'd already seen Rory's name on a gravestone. So for us, that was basically set in stone. Then you see that chapter title, Amelia's Final Farewell, or whatever it was. Again, you're just like, oh my God. So it's just building and building and building and building until you get to that scene on the rooftop. And even though I've seen that scene... Actually, no, I wouldn't say I've seen that particular scene as much. I think I've seen more the follow-up one, which is the one in the cemetery. So that scene, I think, having done that ranking video where I looked at all the tracks last year, the fact that I've basically been doing this week by week, focusing and really analysing all the little nuances of the Doctor, of Amy, of Rory, of River, of the stories that we've been telling, I just feel I've been so much more invested in this particular run of rewatches that it just emotionally hit me so much harder. And then you do have that moment of respite. You're thinking, we've actually done it. Maybe they will have just managed to survive. And then no. Rory gets taken by a weeping angel. And Amy, in both instances, does the absolute logical thing that she can. She loves her husband unconditionally. And she will be with him to the ends of the earth. And that sums up the Amy and Rory story. And I love the fact that the doctor's pleading with her not to do it. But River, their daughter, is saying, yes, go and be with your husband. Go and be with my father. Grow old together. Live your lives together. Have a wonderful life.
No!
Doctor, shut up! Yes, yes, it is!
Amy.
Well then, I just have to blink, right?
No!
It was just such an emotional episode on so many occasions. I just wish that one of these days, both for the Doctor and for the companions, we can just have a situation where it is not revealed ahead of time that a companion is going to be leaving. That we can have it revealed ahead of time that the Doctor is leaving. If we can just have it where it's actually genuinely a surprise, that would be incredible. And the problem that we've now got is everyone can see everything. So the upcoming Doctor Who series, so the second one with Ncuti Gatwa, it was leaked about, I want to say, March, April of this year, of 2024. So before the first full season with Ncuti Gatwa had even begun airing, there was a picture doing the rounds which showed Ncuti Gatwa clearly in costume as the Doctor with somebody else. So everyone was going nuts. They were going, oh my God, Ruby Sunday, she's going to be leaving the show. And they're just like, oh my God, all these conspiracies. And it was relentless. Every sort of Doctor Who group that I'm a part of on things like Facebook and comment boards and stuff, everything was all about that. And it's just infuriating. You know me, I hate spoilers. I would just love one day, to have just a single moment where something can happen which has not been leaked, which has not been spoilt. You think back in the day, you know, it was so much easier. Like, I, in a way, wish, because I never saw Empire Strikes Back properly when I was young. I mean, I did watch it, but it was something I'd never really paid attention to. So it all sort of washed over me. So I watched the prequels of Star Wars, and then you see Anakin, you know, and it's like he becomes Darth Vader, he has a son, it's Luke, and that was the moment I was like, oh my God. So that for me then spoiled. Then when I went back and watched, you know, things like Empire Strikes Back and everything, it spoiled it a lot more for me because I wasn't able to get that moment for that first time of going, no, I am your father. And it's like, you think back then, I've heard Mark Hamill talk stories of going, you know, George Lucas knew, I think it was maybe the director knew, and it was like, he called them in. They called Mark Hamill in and he was like,
I'm going to tell you something. I know it. George Lucas knows it. And when I tell you, you'll know it. But if it leaks, we'll know it was you.
and they do the thing and they hand him the piece of paper and say, you know, you're the father, Darth Vader's your father. And so he had to keep that secret for like a year, even to the point that Han Solo, you know, Harrison Ford, he didn't even know, and he was in the bloody movie.
Harrison turned to me and said, "Hey, kid, you didn't fucking tell me that."
And that's just what I want. I just want it where we can just have no spoilers. I really, really do. I've gone off on a massive tangent there, and I really do sincerely apologise. This review probably already gone on way too long, so I'm going to wrap it up here now. Just, yeah, Absolutely amazing episode. I think everything just clicked together. Everyone knew what they were doing, and yeah, there was a massive sucker punch for you as a viewer. Right. If you're new, I give every Doctor Who episode a score out of 100 by giving 10 categories a score out of 10. That helps me do rankings and things. So these are the scores for The Angels Take Manhattan. And so, The Angels Take Manhattan is the 5th episode to score into the 90s. It has scored 91 points out of 100, which makes it an A++ episode. It is sort of now the end of an era for this portion, because this was the first time since the first series that we had a new Doctor and new companions coming in together. We had Eccleston and Rose, so 9 and Rose. Then we had 11 with Amy, later leading to Rory as well. But Rory's in that first episode as well. And next week, we're going to be doing The Snowmen.
Doctor Who.
And that is going to be the last review that I do before pausing all of my regular normal content for the month of December, where I'm going to focus just purely on Christmas related content. So there will be another Doctor Who episode next month, which will be a reaction, and that'll be to the Stephen Moffat penned Christmas special for 2024. 2024. I've been recording all day, so I'm a bit wiped. My mind's going a little bit foggy right now, so apologies for that. But yeah, so there'll be a reaction for that. I don't know exactly when, but it will obviously be after it gets aired. And then at some point in the new year, I will resume with Series 7, the second half, which will be starting with The Bells of St. John, which is where we first get introduced properly to Clara Oswald, a companion who, it's safe to say, is a divisive companion. Some people love her, some people really don't like her. You'll get to find out my thoughts a little bit later on. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you so very much for watching. Remember, subscribe if you're new. Consider joining Patreon if you want early access to content. And of course, do drop your comments down below. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much. For now, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.